Hey everybody, welcome to Olympic Minds Leadership Beyond Limits. I love this topic. This is for leaders who are the leader of leaders, the visionary of visionaries. This is for people who don't freeze in the middle of a challenge, but who really go forward with unshakable conviction. This is for people who are live beyond mediocrity and want to live in mastery, or are already living there and want to continue living there. It's for people who want to go beyond success and live into significance. So I'm Sherry Winn, your host, two-time Olympian, national championship basketball coach, founder and CEO of the Winning Leadership Company. So what you're going to hear today, this is not theory. This is grit-tested, heart-proven, and results-driven. I'm so excited today. I mean, beyond excited today with my friend Louie. So Louie and I, we met, I don't know when we met, a couple of years ago. We've had some regular conversations. He's had me on his podcast, but here's what I'm going to tell you. He's a leadership trainer, leadership speaker. He is authentic. He is a gifted person because he leads with love first. And so he has an extraordinary backstory, which we're gonna examine today. But why I love Louie is because every time he shows up, I get better. That's why I love Louie. So Louie, why don't you tell them a little bit more about you?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me, Sherry, and I appreciate your kind words, and that's so reciprocal because I get better every time I'm in your space and energy and a conversation. So thanks for having me. For your listeners, just a brief overview. I went in the Marines when I was 17. I actually joined when I was still a senior in high school. I got off of active duty. I did 20 years. Some of that was in the reserve, some of it was active duty. I started my first company when I was 23. It's still going well today, 44 years later. I've bought and sold another number of companies. I've started, I think, a total of 4 companies from scratch. I mentor high school kids. I play music in a band. I've written a book. I'm in the middle of my next book. And I just love life, and I believe that there are no limits.
Oh, I love that. So, and I know, Louie, when we talked, that you shared with me right off the bat some of your challenges you had in your life. So please share with people what are the challenges that you've had to come through, because so many people think, they look at somebody like you, they look at somebody like me, and they're like, oh my gosh, well, they just had the easy road. Like everything lined up for them perfectly, and they just got on the road. It's been great ever since. And we need to really erase that idea and let them know that all of us, without exception, have challenges. It's not the challenge that defines us. What defines us is how we get through the challenge.
Amen, sister. I couldn't agree more. And I've had a very colorful past, and I think I've been blessed because it's made me, I've talked about this, but it's made me who I am. And I can tell you that, just a brief overview, my parents were divorced when I was in the 2nd grade. I'm the oldest of 3 boys. Myself and my next youngest brother were sexually abused at the hands of a babysitter and then horribly treated by our own mother. My dad took my mother back to court in the 4th grade. He got custody of us. They put me on the witness stand, asked what we were living in. I told them, and then when I was done testifying, now I'm 9 or 10 years old, right? So all I know is the truth. They asked me questions. I told them what we were living in. And then when the judge took a recess after I testified, I'm standing out in the hallway outside the courtroom with my dad, his new wife, and both my brothers. And my mother and her attorney walked by us like we didn't exist. Last time I saw her alive, she walked out of the courtroom and never came back. And I mean never. Not a card on my birthday, not a call at Christmas. She walked out and disappeared. And then my brothers and I thought, Yahoo, we're out of that living hell. And little did we know we'd jump from the frying pan into the fire because my stepmother was certifiably mentally ill. At 2 different times in my childhood, they came and strapped her to a stretcher and took her to a mental institution. And she was much like, what was that character in Halloween? Jason, where they'd kill him and they'd pop back up. That was my stepmother. She kept popping back up and coming back. And my stepmother would beat my brothers and I bloody for no good reason. And we have scars on us from belt buckles, lamps, forks, anything she could get her hands on. And I share that. It's probably hard to hear for some people, but that's a story that happened to somebody else at this point. I've left it behind and I've moved on, and I believe if I can do it, so can everybody else. It wasn't easy at times, but you lead yourself out of it, and you lead yourself out of it with mentors and people that care about you and love you. that want to help you get further down the road.
So interesting, because you've had a lot of success, and people would go, oh my gosh, like, how did you ever get out of that? And I think that's what people need to understand is everybody has a challenge. This is not unusual. Leaders have challenges, successful people, billionaires, millionaires, great athletes, all have challenges. So when I had my first big challenge, my answer was to drink. Like, that's like, oh, like, this'll fix it. I'll just start drinking. It didn't work. It was a really bad strategy. Luckily, I got out of that. But how did you, you said you had some mentors, but how did you really turn the corner? What was it you learned that has enabled you to live this different life? To, like, that version of you is gone. That chapter is closed. You're not angry about it anymore. You're not mad about it. You close it up and you move forward. What was the biggest learning? Like, what did you have to learn that enabled you to move forward, Louie?
I learned two things. One is, as you know, I'm a big fan of meditation. And two things came to me in my meditation that gave me the ability to forgive. And I think forgiveness very, very important for leaders. Very important for leaders. But the two things that came to me, the first one was that what happened to me at the hands of these three different women had nothing to do with me. If you'd have been their daughter or stepdaughter or the babysitter in charge of you, they'd have done exactly the same things to you.
Right.
So that gave me freedom because I was blaming myself. For years, I thought I was the one that drove my mother away because I testified. But that wasn't the truth. And so the first piece was it had nothing to do with me. The second thing that really helped get me completely over the hump to be able to forgive them and love them. You're right, I'm a big guy on love. And I want to be clear to everybody listening. When I say love them, I didn't let them back in my life.
Right.
But I loved them from a distance. But the second thing was I had the realization that somebody had to really mess them up before they got to me. When I've shared this story, especially with women, there's mothers out there, they can't even fathom the thought of walking away from their children. They can't even, it's not conceivable. But when I realized that's not a normal thing, how did this happen? I realized that whatever happened to her, somebody really messed her up.
Right.
And so I could really let her off the hook because one, it wasn't about me, and two, she wasn't intentionally doing it to me. I learned this from Jack Canfield. Everybody's doing the best they can with what they know, with where they're at.
Right.
Those three women were doing just that. That's the best they knew, that's the best they had, and that's all they could do.
Yeah, it's my favorite saying is if they knew better, they would do better. Like,
right.
And true. Nobody signs up and goes, I want to suck this lifetime. Like, I want to be horrible. I want to like be miserable. I want to make everybody else around me miserable. I don't think anybody ever signs up for that, right? But they don't have the skill set to move forward. That's the biggest problem. Is they don't have the skill set. And so a lot of people, I'm really with you on Louie about forgiveness. And forgiveness is one of those things that it's not like, I forgive you. That's not it. That's not how it comes around. But people don't understand, how do you forgive? Like, literally, how do you get to this space of allowing some of the past, which, and everybody, like without exception, all of us, right? All of us go through something or many somethings that we would say that shouldn't have happened to us. Like, we like to use the word that shouldn't have happened to us, which I don't know why it shouldn't have. It's our growth point. It's our learning point. It's our, moving forward point. But how do you really learn forgiveness, Louie? How do you, you talked a little bit about meditation and understanding that they weren't doing it personally. Is there anything else about forgiveness that you can tap into to help people understand what it feels like, what it looks like? How do you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sherry. And I'd like to piggyback on something that you've just said that is a great realization I've had. If I had my childhood and you had, when you were 13, your cat Fluffy died, and it had been your buddy your whole childhood, who am I to say that that's not just as challenging and hard on you as mine, right? Because the first thing we want to do with all this is make our story worse or bigger than everybody else's. And they're all just a story, right? A story is a story is a story. So for forgiveness, I think the key for me was first learning to love myself. Because when we're angry or holding a grudge or even worse, want revenge, it's because we're thinking that we're less than or that they took something from us.
Right.
And neither one of those are true. We're all equal and nobody can take anything away from us because there's really nothing to take away. Everything we've ever needed and wanted is right here in this moment. And nobody can take that away from us. Now, this takes some time and some practice, but there's a thing that I learned that I share with people and my clients when I coach them. And as you well know, I love you because we know he's got this great synergy. But often when we work with business leaders, the first thing we have to work on is the leader, not the business, right? And most people don't love themselves. And so there's a mirror exercise that I use where I literally stand in front of a mirror and I tell people, and I practice it naked, you need to love every inch of you. The wrinkles, the scratches, the stretch marks, the gray hair, the no hair, whatever, seriously, right? Because we stand in the mirror and judge ourselves even with our clothes on. That's not unconditional love. And so you need, if you want to go down the road of forgiveness, you need to forgive yourself and love yourself. I'm really a believer in everything's happened for a reason. You and I both understand this. You and I would not be in the positions we are in our lives, being so passionate about helping people heal and grow, and more importantly, grow leaders, other leaders, if we hadn't been through what we've been through. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that, I've had many coaching clients, and they always think it's going to be a different experience. So they always think it's going to be about, if I was to put it back to like sports, they go the X's and O's. In business, they're thinking about how do I scale? How do I get my team more productive? And I'm like, well, it starts with you. Let's start here.
Right.
So it starts with that very basic thing of, what do you feel about yourself? What do you think about yourself? And so many people don't like themselves. I mean, they can't love themselves because they don't even like themselves. And that's a hard thing to do because we're not taught to love ourselves. Nobody goes, hey, the most important thing you're going to do in your life is learn unconditional self-love. Who tells you that?
Right. That's a great, nobody. Nobody tells you that.
Tell you that, but they'll say, well, then you're selfish or you've got a big ego. And that's exactly the opposite of ego, right? Unconditional self-love is the opposite of ego. It's the only place that you can get to humility. Would you agree with that's true? It's the only place you can become humble?
Without a doubt. Because in that love, you're on fire, my friend. In that love, seriously, in that love is everything that we need and want. And here's what's really powerful. I can't give it to you if I don't have it. I can't give you chocolate cake if I don't have chocolate cake. I can't give you $1,000 if I don't have $1,000. I can't give you love if I don't have love for me. And people, and this is why so many relationships struggle, right? Because we think somebody outside of us is going to make us happy, going to value us, going to love us enough for us to love No, it doesn't work. It's got to start. It's an inside job, as you well know. And I think that, and you kind of got me going, but I can tell you, well, seriously, because I'm really passionate about this, because I believe this self-love is the way to humility. It's the path to forgiveness. And I can tell you, if we could get people there, it would stop. I really firmly believe if we could stop child abuse, we'd solve every problem in the world. Because a lot of these people are starting, from a place of, oh my God, I'm not enough of this, I'm not enough of that. And I was, in all transparency, I was similar to you. When I had a couple decades in there where I struggled with this stuff. And I went through the gambit. I went through alcohol, drugs, sex, work, food, you name it. I was using everything I could to kill the pain.
Right. And it didn't work. It's like, oh, I feel better. Oh no, I feel worse. It's like that. That, when I was drinking heavily, it was always about, in that moment I could feel better, but it didn't last long. It didn't carry over to the next day. It didn't carry over even sometimes the next hour, right? Sometimes even to the next minute. You're just trying to escape the pain and you don't understand how to escape it. But you wouldn't have got there if it wouldn't have been like the questioning, the big key, I'm not enough. Like we do all these attack thoughts on ourselves. We have these incredible attack thoughts that, how can we love ourselves when we keep attacking ourselves? You said you stand in front of the mirror to say, I love you. But how many times a day do we have these attack thoughts that say something like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not whatever it is enough. And then we get mad at somebody else out there who's saying it. If you didn't believe it, it wouldn't bother you, right? If you had done your work, that wouldn't bother you at all. You'd know it was their stuff and not your stuff at all.
So you hit the nail on the head with that one. And you're absolutely right. The only way, nobody takes our peace, we give it away. Right? And in this, for those of you that might be listening to this podcast, I'm bald, Sherry's not. But if Sherry was to say bald men are stupid, and I believe that in me, then we're off to the races, right? We're butting heads and we're going at it. But if Sherry says bald men are stupid and I know that's not the truth, then I'm good to go, and we can still communicate and relate, and more importantly, lead. And so it's the same thing, right? If once you give your piece away, it's impossible to lead. And once somebody's out of their analytical mind and in their emotional mind, walk away from them, because they're literally out of their mind and you can't reason with them.
I love that. They're out of their mind. I mean, part of this is just understanding, I think, with you have this compassion. Like, I started having compassion for people. So instead of judging them and being mad at them, the compassion came in. And I think the only way the compassion can come in is through the self-love that you have. And then you can offer compassion to other people, is knowing that when somebody does something, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what did they go through? What has happened to them that this is now their perspective? And the other day I was at a garage sale. So I live in little, small towns. We still have garage sales out here. And I walked by these two guys, and one guy was talking to another guy, and he said, all liberals should be lined up and shot. And the other guy's like, yep, absolutely, solve all our problems. And I was like, and Louie, I went through this. First of all, it was kind of scary. Like, I was like, that's scary. Second of all, I was like, well, they're both victims because they think that somebody else is causing their pain, right? And if it wasn't the liberal, it'd be somebody that had black hair or green eyes or whatever it was. The third thing that I thought was, let me send them love. Let me send them peace. That was the third thing that I got to, because, and I told people this and they go, you're better than me. I go, no, I'm really not. I just understand that responding with hatred doesn't change anything. I'm just adding to the hatred that's already in the world. And I'm pointing the finger at people for doing the same thing I just did. Right?
Yeah. And I think that, it's the old saying, an eye for an eye makes the world blind. And I'll tell you, right? And I'll tell you something that, so one of my businesses, as you know, is a body shop. And at one point we had had a hailstorm. And so there was an adjuster in from out of town. And so he'd been on the road for a couple of months, away from his family, eating, food on the road, living in the hotels. And so I'm having to negotiate with him to get a price to fix a car. And it's not going well. Part of it because he's hangry, right? He's hungry and angry and tired and missing his family. And so at one point there's a break in the conversation. And I just became aware that I can love. I can just be love. And so I started to radiate from this place of love. I can tell you that when he opened his mouth the next time, it was like a completely different person. And it went very amicably, and we got the deal done. And here's what I'd like to share a quick story with you.
Please.
I was, like I said, I spent 20 years in the Marines, and I was in helicopters. I was a door gunner and crew chief on helicopters. One day we're doing troop inserts, and I'll give you the short version of this. But I hear the pilot, good man, steady man, great leader. He's actually the first guy that put the words gifted leader together, called me a gifted leader, and that's where the title of my company comes from. Again, he has since passed, but we're on a mission inserting troops into a LZ, a landing zone, and I hear him over the radio say, Mayday, Mayday, we're going down. And I could tell, one, he said it like he was ordering breakfast on a Sunday morning, so he was calm, cool, collected. But the other thing was, there was something in his voice. I knew he wasn't screwing around. I knew he wasn't being funny. We were about to crash. Him and I worked really well together, and we put this thing on the ground. We crashed. We were about 700 feet when we lost an engine. And so, but what happened in that, from the moment he said, Mayday, Mayday, we're going down, we had been practicing in our minds individually our emergency procedures. And so when he said, Mayday, Mayday, we're going down, I just started moving. I knew what I had to do because I'd rehearsed it in my head. I'd gone through it. So did he. And then one of the things that we do as a team, we're about 700 feet. He can't see below him. So my job is to call our altitude, and in this case, as we're going down to crash. And here's what, I will share that story. Everybody on that helicopter survived. Normally, you don't survive a helicopter crash. Some of the people we had to drag out of it. because we had some troops in the back. But here's my point. And I love your story about these two rednecks who are busy wanting to line everybody up and shoot them. The comedian. You might be a redneck if. Yeah. And so, but my point to this is before the proverbial stuff hits the fan, as a leader, you have to decide who you want to be. Am I going to be love or am I going to be hate? Am I going to be patient or am I going to be in a big hurry?
Right.
Am I going to be compassionate or am I going to be rude and mean? But you have to decide who you want to be before it hits the fan. Because once it hits the fan, it's too late. You're going to react like you've reacted your whole life, and that's almost always, to your point, always negative. Because you're right. Nobody is harder on us than us.
Yeah. And it's just so interesting. I love that you can't get what you don't have. And so whatever comes out of you is within you, right? So if you're in those situations, if you haven't prepared, it's not that person made you angry. It's that the anger's inside of you is just coming out in that situation, right? It's always the same. But we have to learn as leaders, like it's this preparation. It's this way that you continually deal with yourself every day that allows you to have this other stuff that comes out of you, this peace, this joy, this serenity, this love that you're talking about. And people don't know or don't recognize that doesn't mean you're weak. Doesn't mean you're weak. No. Like the more that you love yourself, I think the easier it is for you to have a boundary because you love yourself, right? The easier it is for you to gift to somebody else accountability because you're saying, I care about you so much that I'm going to hold you accountable so that you'll do your job well, so that you'll keep your job, so that you'll elevate your job. And so people don't understand when we talk about love, I think sometimes if you don't have that Olympic level mindset already, you think it's some sort of weakness that's coming out of you. And it's the biggest strength that can come out of you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If that guy didn't teach love about where he was at for you guys coming down that helicopter, you would all died.
Right. And it's an interesting thing because it's fascinating. I've realized over the last couple decades, nobody's ever accomplished anything by themselves, big or small, right? There's people that groomed us, helped us, raised us, taught us, whatever, that list of things goes on and on. And I think that love is truly a great strength. And especially in men, a lot of men still live in the ego, right? They're busy being the biggest dog in a room. Some women do it, but not to the extent men do. And I think as a leader, and you and I both know this, and I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. Because because as a leader, you and I have accomplished these things, right? And that's great. But we came from the same place everybody else did. We put our pants on one leg at a time. And as a leader, and you know this like I do, but I want to share this for your audience and the listeners. When you're speaking in front of a room or when you're leading people, if you're authentic, genuine, and transparent, it makes you real. You don't need to be perfect to be a great leader. You just need to be you. And sometimes it's okay to say, I'm scared or I'm not sure. You don't have to be the person that has the answers all the time.
Right.
And one of the things I share with people that I mentor and my teams, it's okay to say, I don't know, because you build credibility. I don't know, but let me find out and get back to you instead of making some stuff up. And again, that's the ego wanting to be the biggest dog in the room, letting people think that you know it all. When you can come from a place of love, and you've probably heard this, but when you come from a place of love, you're comfortable being in a room where you're probably the least smart, least intelligent, and the least gifted, and the least skilled person, because there's a room you're going to grow in. You and I'll equate this to sports and I love your history and some of your stories. But when I was a kid, I played tennis. I did not like playing against people that I could just dominate them. I loved playing against people that were kicking my butt because that made me a better tennis player.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To do that, you have to have some sort of self-worth, right? You have to have some sort of belief system to do that. And so, many times I talk to companies and what they're saying is like, well, they get confused about things like, we were too positive. Like I actually had a company tell me this, we're too positive. And I go, what do you mean we're too positive? And they go, well, we were telling people they were doing good. And I said, well, that's okay. Like, that's okay. But we weren't coaching them anymore because we didn't want to hurt their feelings. They go, oh man, no. Coaching is love. Like your coaching is, you see somebody, you see their potential, and you see what they could become, and you're there helping them reach their goal. So if you allow them to be less than they are, that's not really love. And I'm not saying you go out and you ring everybody, but if they want to go someplace, right? If they have goals, if they have a desire, then your responsibility from the position of love is to help them and talk to them when they're in the wrong. I mean, help them see what they're doing to themselves, help them see how they're injuring themselves, right? That's your job, and that is from the strongest point of love. And so when they were saying to me that they were being too positive, I didn't get it, but what they meant was that they were afraid to have the tough conversations. And I was like, the tough conversation is love. Like that, let's reframe and relook at what you're doing, because you somewhere along the line, you heard something and you misinterpreted it, or somebody taught you something that's just not true. Because the highest level of love is when somebody has the ability to look at you and say, hey, you're on the wrong path, right? I mean, to help you wake up to what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. And I think great leaders have the ability to do that, and for those that are struggling with it, here's a couple of ways to do it. One of them is again, you start from love. I want to share this with you because I have your best interest in mind. And you say those things. Now, if you don't mean it, don't say it, right? Yeah. But seriously, because people will feel that you're not being authentic. But the other piece of that is I like sandwich. I've got a good friend of mine, Mike Jones. He's got a great Discover Leadership down in Texas program I went through, and he calls it feed forward and instead of feedback. But I call it the sandwich method, right? So I'm going to say, hey, Sherry, you're doing a great job with the podcast. And then I'm going to tell you something, this could be improved. And then I'd say, I love the content, and I love their overall arching theme that we've all been through the stuff. Right. And so now I started with positive. I gave you some feed forward on how you can improve. And then I ended with positive. And at that point, you really kind of ice the cake on the top and the bottom. And it's really, really tough. And I think it's interesting because often whatever behavior we want, if we appreciate and acknowledge that and are grateful and thankful and those kinds of things, we're going to get more of that kind of behavior. If we yell and scream about the things we don't want, guess what we're going to get more of? The things we don't want.
You don't want. Yeah. Well, that's the same thing. You have to go toward what you want. You don't go away from what you don't want. And so a lot of people will say, we don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. And I'm like, man, you're going the wrong direction. You got to go the direction to what you want versus what you don't want. And this is true in our own thoughts, right? As well as teaching our people. So many people will say to me, well, I told my team member not to do this, and they did it. And I go, well, let's rethink this. And like, well, what do you want to rethink? I said, well, let's think about what is the image you want to put in their head? What is the image that you want them to go forward to? And the way that I liken this is in sports. Almost everybody's played sports at some time, right? Everybody has played something, whether it's Little League or whatever, junior high ball or high school or whatever it is. But most people have been in a scenario where you're ahead and the other team gains momentum. And then the team that's ahead starts doing this. They start playing not to lose, right? And so they're focused on the wrong thing. And maybe they barely win, but a lot of times they end up losing because their focus is on the loss rather than playing to win. And we don't even understand this. We get that kind of in sports, but we don't understand that we do it in our daily lives all the time.
Yes, ma'am. And one of the things, I'm so happy you brought that up because I've done some research and studying on the brain. And the subconscious mind, which is very powerful and the biggest part of our brain, does not know the word not. And so when you say, I do not eat the elephant, all your subconscious mind thinks is of an elephant. Right. And one of the things I'd like to touch on that you've said, much like in that helicopter crash, I had thought about what I was going to do when it happened. This is the same thing with your thoughts that you talked about earlier, right? When you think that thought like I never get ahead, what's the positive opposite of that? And so when you say I never get ahead, and you can say things like cancel to cancel that thought, and then repeat the next thought 3 times. It changes your mindset and it changes the physiology of your brain and the chemistry of your brain, because you just put something positive in it. But again, that's that same thing. You got to do the work to figure out what's the story you're telling yourself, and then figure out the positive opposite of that, and then start telling yourself that.
Yeah. I had a coach that he asked me to come watch him. So he wanted me to watch him run a practice. I said, sure. Like, he was a friend of mine. I don't really do this as part of my business, but I said, sure. And so I watched him, and his favorite saying was, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, how many times did he? So afterwards I said, hey, do you know what your favorite saying is? He's like, no. I said, well, do you know that you said that's not bad over 35 times in this one practice? He goes, well, it wasn't that bad. And I go, I was like, that's not the same as being good. It's not the same, right? And so people don't know that, Louie, right? They don't know. Right. So, it's really important that you understand that what you say and what people hear, like, your intention is to tell, like, his intention was to tell his team that they were improving, or that they were doing good, or they were doing better. That was his intention. But what he said is, that's not bad. And so what are they hearing? Bad,
35 times.
Yep. And then he wants them to perform, at a higher level. And so how many leaders do we know unintentionally, because they're not mindful of their thoughts, right? If you don't have the mindfulness of your thoughts and how your thoughts affect you, it's impossible to be mindful of how your thoughts affect somebody else.
Say that again. You need to say that again. I'm honest. It's your podcast, but say that again, because people need to hear it.
Right. Well, if you're not mindful of how your thoughts affect you, and I'm super mindful of how they affect me. If you're not mindful of how your thoughts affect you, it's impossible for you to be mindful of how your thoughts and your words affect other people.
Amen, sister. And I can tell you, one of the things that I share with people, I believe once you have awareness, you're 65% of the way home. Because now you're aware that you're saying it. You're aware that you're doing it. You're aware that you're eating it. You're aware that you're drinking it. Whatever it is, once you have that awareness, that's a biggest chunk of it. Now you can make different choices.
Absolutely. But we're not aware. I mean, so many people are not aware. And so what I find to be interesting is only 15% of the population is self-aware. So that means 85% of the population, and this includes leaders, right? They don't hear their own words. So they don't question things like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why did that trigger me? Why do I always respond the same way to this? Why does this person irritate me? They don't do any of that. And yet they want to be able to lead. Well, if you don't know yourself at that level, like if you haven't done the work to know yourself at that level, how do you know your people? How do you know what to say to them? How do you know what to inspire them? How do you know how to motivate them? You don't even know what affects you.
And that's going to lead right into, you're absolutely right. How can you connect with them when you're not connected to you? How can you feel them? And I mean energetically feel them. Are they in a good mood, a bad mood? Are they kind? Are they loving? Or whatever they are. One of the things that I do when I'm hiring to bring somebody onto the team is I'll have them interview with the key people, me and department heads, but then I'll have at least 2 women interview them. And the only thing I ask the women is, how'd they make you feel? And I've had women tell me, that guy gave me the creeps. Didn't hire him. He was a rock star, great resume. I didn't hire him. He gave her the creeps. But in awareness, we can start to feel that ourselves. Right? And so it's very powerful, because that's the way you connect to people, is getting into this awareness. And I'd like to touch on something. There's a lot of people that reject things. You and I have tried a lot of things in our life. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. But there's things like meditation, yoga, exercise, drinking water. It's been working for centuries. Centuries. Meditation's thousands of years old. It must be doing something right. Remember pet rocks? There was a time when people would buy a rock and it had a name and it had a little face painted on it. People were silly enough to pay money for a pet rock. Well, it didn't last. But yoga, exercise, reading, awareness, mindfulness, all these things have been around for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. It works. And some people label it the woo-woo. And this is a big thing with men. You know, well, I don't need that. That's girly, or that's silly stuff, or it's never. Okay, good luck.
Yeah, well, it's the mindfulness training. So, you know, I think the difference between Olympic level leaders is they understand the mindfulness training. So I'll give you an example of what happened to me recently with my mom. So my mom and I have a history. We've overcome the history. We found a way through it, right? But there were some really, really precarious times in our past. And so she's older now. I mean, I'm older, so she's older, obviously. But
funny how that works.
Yeah, I told her, so her mind doesn't work really sharp anymore. But I told her, I said, hey, Mom, I'm going to be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to be in the wilderness because I live out in Montana. You get in the wilderness. There is no internet. There is no ability. There's no cell phone service. There's nothing. Well, when I get out of the wilderness, this is on Sunday, I have this really nasty voicemail message from her. Nasty. And I was like, what is that about? And she's like, you think that you think that I had choices? Well, you had choices. You just, when you were in high school, you left me, you abandoned me, all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, I don't even know what's going on. So I don't call her right away. I call my sister and I go, do you know anything about choices? Have you heard anything that, like, there's a whole, like, voicemail message. I don't even know where it's coming from. She goes, no. And I said, well, okay. So I call my mom and I said, hey, Mom, how's it going? And there's silence. I said, hey, what's up, Mom? Help me understand what's up. Well, that phone call you gave me. And I go, I don't know what phone call you're talking about, Mom. And she said, well, you call me and you go, you make your own choices, and you hung up. And I go, when did I call you? And she goes, well, Tuesday. And I go, well, Mom, I didn't call you. And she goes, well, you did. And I looked at my phone and there was a canceled call. And I said, well, let's think about this a minute, Mom. I didn't get reactive. So this is where your brain training comes in. I didn't get reactive. And I said, hey, Mom, how many times in the last 20 years have I called you and hung up? And she goes, well, never. I said, okay. How many times have I called you and just said a few words, angry words, and hung up? Never. I said, okay. So does this sound like me? Does this sound like something I would have done? She goes, well, no. And I go, Mama, I'm so sorry that you thought for 4 days or 5 days that I had done something mean to you, and you had to sit around in that for that long because you couldn't reach me. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But I want you to know I didn't do it. It was a butt dial. Somehow you overheard something. I don't know what you overheard me say. It wasn't directed to you. But in a matter of minutes, we had resolved this issue, right? Why did we resolve it? Because I didn't get angry or mad. I didn't get defensive by her call. I wanted to know what it was about. But even when I called her and she got silent, that's one of the manipulative things that people do. They do the silent treatment. And she blamed me for something. And because I had trained my mind to see things differently, we're able to resolve that in a very short time. And that's what a leader can do, right? A leader can override other things that people get reactive to, that they react whether they respond to, they don't think it through, they get defensive about. A leader has that ability then to go in and have a conversation, and instead of escalating it, they can de-escalate it, right? And that's training of the mind. That's training of what your belief system is. That's training in a meditation that I do too, Louie, every day. It's that training that you do. And imagine if you're running a business and you have some person come in and accuse you of things, if you can de-escalate that in 5 minutes. Imagine what that would do for your business.
Without a doubt. And the beautiful thing about that is that one of the things I've realized and share with people is everybody's a leader. Even if you're pumping gas at the gas station, somebody's watching you, right? Did you pick up the garbage you dropped? Are you talking on your cell phone with the pump, the nozzle pumping gas? And I love what you just said, because if you can control your mind, and we all have the power to do that, there's lots of ways you can learn to do that, you become such a powerful role model, because somebody else is almost always in your environment that's going to watch this thing go down. Right. And when Louie blows up and Sherry just stands there steady and calm, and then Louie's finally when Louie's done blowing his stack, Sherry just calmly says, is there anything else? Can I help you with anything else? Is there anything else bothering you? Seriously, right? Because part of it is you've got to put the fire out. Right. As long as that fire's raging, like I said earlier, if that fire's raging, you can't reason with anybody. Right. And thinking you can is foolishness. Yes. And sometimes a great leader will know enough to, walk away from that situation and come back to it later once the other person's calmed down. Because sometimes you can't calm the other person down.
Absolutely. And I think this comes back to the reason I brought that up with meditation. It comes back to me. I think one of the biggest powers of meditation is the ability to recognize when your mind drifts, and then through meditation that you can bring it back. And so you start learning that you don't have to go down the story that your mind takes you, that you have the power to say, like in meditation, a lot of times it's just the breath. If you're focused on the breath, you recognize you've gone down something and you just let it go and you bring it back. Like how many times in a 20-minute meditation I'm intent on my breathing and all of a sudden I'm like going off and I'm like, oh, I'm going to drop that and come back. Well, it's the same thing that you can understand. If you train your mind, you can recognize when it's going down a story that you don't need, that may not be true, that maybe you're making up, that you have and you can drop it. You don't have to live in it anymore. But if you don't train yourself somehow, you consistently do the same thing over and over again, which is why meditation is so amazing, because it gives you the ability to understand that you have power over your thoughts.
You're absolutely right. And this is the kind of work you were talking about earlier that we need to do so that we're not triggered, so somebody doesn't take our peace. I'll share a quick story with you. My ex-wife, we were at a wedding and we knew both sides, the bride and the groom, we knew both sides. And so at the reception, there was an old friend of mine I hadn't seen in years. And so I'm busy catching up with him. And I check on my wife and she's talking to some friends and she's having a good time. She wasn't sitting at a table by herself. She was having a good time. And so we get in the car to come home and she just starts on me, yakking in my ear. I realized pretty quick was when I was talking to this guy, she was jealous that I wasn't spending time with her. So she started flirting with these guys. And then she got really steamed because I didn't get upset or jealous. And so on the way home, I'm hearing all about it. And the reality is, my point is what you were just saying. Jealousy isn't in me. And I told her, I said, why would I be jealous? I said, we're married. We're in the same car going home. But that again, this is before I had more awareness. and that was her stuff, but it didn't trigger me because it wasn't in me.
Right.
And I think that's what people need to understand. If somebody's pushing your buttons, then that's a mirror saying you need to look at you and you need to work on you. Because the only way they set you off is if it's still alive and well in you.
And that circles back to our whole discussion around forgiveness, right? If you still have a wound in you, it's because you haven't gotten to all the sources of the wound. And so you might have done some work on it, but you haven't gotten to all the sources. And I think there's three levels of forgiveness, and maybe you've got more. Number one, you have to forgive the other person. Number two, you have to forgive yourself. And number three, you have to forgive your higher power, whatever you see that power as. And people go, well, I didn't blame, God, or I didn't blame. And I'm like, well, if you've ever said, why did this happen to me? Who are you talking to?
Great point.
Right? So you have to, if you get all those levels, and then maybe you've healed a part of the scenario, but there's another part to it that you didn't recognize. You've got to heal that part. And so the cool thing about doing that is once you've done it, that's no longer going to affect you or trigger you ever again. Ever.
Right. And that's exactly right. Jealousy is not a thing in me. It's never going to go off because it doesn't exist anymore. And I think you said something really powerful in that. When you talk about the ability to recognize it in you and then do something about it, you now, and you said this at the beginning of the conversation, you now become the master. You're the master of yourself.
Yep. And
when you get there, you can lead anybody wherever you'd like to go.
Man, I don't even want this conversation to end. This has been so amazing, Louie. I love it. I love it. I love it. Is there anything that you want to tell people that I didn't ask you or that we didn't have a conversation around that you want to share right now?
Yes. Everybody has this illusion that to change the world, you have to be Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Mother Teresa. That's not true. If you're a leader, every day, take the time to smile at somebody. Take the time to say hello to somebody, or good morning, or good afternoon. Ask them how they're doing. Be genuine. Hug somebody. One of my favorite things to do is buy the people behind me lunch or coffee, whatever, and then pull away and you'll never know who they are or what you. But we can all change the world. We simply do it every day. We put love into the world every day, and everything's a choice, right? And when I speak to audiences or consult people or coach, I tell them I'll stand on one leg in balance, and I'll say there is no middle of the road. It's either positive or negative. At the end of the day, I think there's only two emotions. There's either love or fear. Everything else is a derivative that comes down to that. Are you going to be love today? Or are you going to be fear? It's really that simple. And you and I both know this. It's the foundation of our relationship. And here's what I want your audience to hear. Men especially, pay close attention. It's possible to love a woman unconditionally without any sex or romance needing to be in it. And I do it with women all the time. Sherry, you and I are a great example. I love Sherry unconditionally. She lights my fire. She just always shows up. She's always got something great to add. And so every day we get to choose love or we get to choose fear. And I choose love every day. You know, I'll say one last thing. Every morning, the name for my higher power is God. And I don't care what you call it, but mine's God. Every morning I pray one simple prayer. I say, God, please send me one person to help heal or serve today. And sure enough, every day somebody shows up. Today, it's already been 2 people.
Beautiful. So, yeah. Louie, I know that you're like me. You do coaching and you mentor and you speak. How can people find you?
They can go to The Gifted Leader, all spelled out, thegiftedleader.com.
Awesome. I'm so thrilled that I had this conversation with you today. And I hope that people who are listening today, that you understand how powerful this day was, how powerful these few minutes were, that you take something, you write it down, you start using it. It'll make a difference in your world, guaranteed. And please, please, please share this with other people because it makes a difference. Hey, everybody, have a winning day. Bye now.